So hello, today I'm going to break down our recent tournament event which I went to at the weekend. A few people on Facebook have requested it. The event, as you probably were aware of, was the one in Nottingham, which is the Kings of Men, ran by world champion Barney Menzies over at 7 City Collectables in Nottingham. It was a fantastic event, I have to say. It's nice to have Lord of the Rings, Middle-earth SBG tournaments back on the scene. Managed to catch up with lots of people who I've not seen for nearly 18 months because of COVID. And it was all around a really good weekend. Still a bit hanging because we had quite a big evening session in after the games themselves. And I'm still exhausted because I haven't played so many games of Middle-earth SBG in a very long time. And you can hear by my voice I've got a bit croaky because of it. I'll break down obviously what the event encompassed and kind of how it went well and what things could have gone better, and kind of get more people influenced by getting into more of the tournaments and how they can do that, and try and facilitate more people attending events or creating their own, which is completely a possibility. So the army weekend was mainly around theme. The restrictions on army list building was a 700 point list, had to be a green ally matrix on its own. The way you got around that is you could do legendary legions, technically completely green allies as well, which meant that you would get lots of themed matchups, which was very cool. We don't see it so often. I personally always tend to take a green ally system to tournaments because I don't like playing anything that's not themed. Ever since the new rule change, I don't think I've ever been to a tournament and taken anything less than a green. But that's personal preference. I've seen people take red allied matrix just because of powerful units in different factions they want to squeeze in. Some people have done well with it, some people haven't done so well with it. In the old edition it was a bit of a game breaking aspect to it, so that's now changed luckily. Overall there was 7 games over the weekend, which was quite a lot for 700 points. Each game was probably around 2 hours plus for the tournament level play. I don't think any of my games ended early, so they all went to time, which made it very kind of hard work going through the whole thing. You didn't get too much of a break in between rounds, but generally it flowed very well. The pod system is completely new, and the pod system was put in for COVID restrictions to be applied to. So you played a pool of people from your pool of 6 on day 1. In those games I played quite a few players who are known already from the scene, and you might see their interviews. They're mainly players that have either played competitively or they played for competitive teams, and it was good to see them. Again, I requested to go into a pod of 6 where I knew people, just because I know I'd be drinking with them in the evening as well, which was a nice kind of appeal to it. Some of the games were very intense, I think, in some ways, because some factions have more pros to take in a green faction than others, and I think the Legendary Legion kind of breaks that a bit as well, because it does make a green faction more competitive. So some of the list builds that I saw at the event or I played against, I would say I'm not uncommon to see those at 100 point events and larger events, but each to their own. I think it was one of those that it rewarded theme, and again, it's one of those that you can say, well look, I took a themed army and did well with it, so that's an accomplishment in itself. All of the games though, none of them were overly competitive. I think there was a large amount of people that came to the event that were quite new to the systems or have played a few games, got into it through lockdown and they loved it, and it's glad to see so many new faces at these tournaments. And a lot of willingness to kind of participate in, again, giving you guys interviews and getting people to tournaments as well, and kind of bringing in the community a little bit more, bringing it on a bit more. But yeah, that was kind of a summary of the games through day 1. Into the evening, we had had to rush to a hotel, which was quite quickly. The hotel was actually really good, so it was a pub. Stayed at a pub for the evening, which was great. Rushed back because we had beer and pizza between our groups of 6, which World Champion had organised. It was fantastic value for money, given that the price was, I think, something like £10 or £12 with that full kind of massive pizza and beers supplied by them. And then you also got fed through lunch as well, which was incorporated in your price ticket, which was kind of like your kind of Subway kind of platter, as it were, spread between each tables of 6, which was really nice little aspect to it. Will did really well in the aspect of trying to keep people happy and chasing around and doing drinks orders and doing TO questions and stuff, so he did fantastically well, considering he was also trying to run the shop at the same time. And again, I can't fault obviously what they managed to do as a team there. My only gripe would be that they need a working kettle, because I was absolutely steaming the next day. I had to walk from my hotel because I wasn't fit to drive. And everybody wants a hot drink at that state in the morning, and they didn't have a working kettle, or they couldn't provide hot drinks for whatever reason. So hopefully they fix that problem, but that's the minor issue that I found. But otherwise it was fantastic, I have to say. The evening events after, we've had some food and stuff. We then decided to start playing some drinking games and some dice games, but we were keeping on our table spotted around the actual venue, so we were shouting from one place to the other. I think having a gaming event with alcohol licenses to sell and things like that is a fantastic addition to a weekend away, because we always go away and have a good laugh with our friends. That's what everybody wants to see with these sort of tournaments. So the fact that you can do that and not have to stress about going out and doing stuff like that, I think that's a huge pro in itself. And again, you can have a few drinks going on through the day. And that based in mind, I have to say a huge shout out to Ryan Hinch, who rocked up and bought everybody Jaeger bombs, which is amazing for him. I say he didn't even know a lot of these people, and he put his hand in his pocket straight away just so everybody else had a good time. He's an absolute legend. He's in GBHL for many years. A lot of people know him, and again, it's nice to see such a community who would obviously do these things for each other, which is fantastic. We kept drinking until the early hours of the morning, and to which time I think there was about a handful of us left, and we wandered back to our hotels, and then that was about it. Woke up next morning with a sore head, which is always great because you've had a good night. Again, the games weren't too hyper competitive, so I didn't have to worry about obviously having to keep up with rules and all the rest of it too much, so I knew I could have a good time. And then we played our games for game 2, which started not too badly, about, I think it was at 9:30 or 10, I think we started early. The pools were then determined by how well you did day 1, so you would be playing different people, which was again cool because you got to see people that I didn't actually know before this event, and everybody in my group on day 2 was super lovely and again really enjoyed themselves, which was good. My Easterling faction did relatively well, I'd say, based that they're not a competitive list in kind of much of a way, I would say at the moment. I'm hoping they get boosted. On date 1, they went 2-2, so they won 2 games, they lost 2 games, but the lists I've faced on day 1, I would say, are quite competitive lists. So it was a big ask for me to get anything out of day 1, in my opinion. Which I was overly quite impressed about. And then day 2, I think a lot of the other players in my list would arguably have more themed lists, so they crippled themselves a little bit more. There was more new players, and given the games were again quite hard work, especially some of them, the Eastlings went undefeated on day 2, so that gave me 3 wins on day 2. So it ended with the Easterlings winning. So they lost 2 and they won 5, I believe. So 5-2 for the tournament weekend. it was great for them. I have to say, I wasn't expecting to do relatively that well, but I think I still managed to top my group based on the pool system for day 2. I must be within the top 10 maybe in the lineup at the end, but that doesn't matter in this event. The things I went for were essentially the most themed army, which I thought, well, obviously is my Icelings. Spent a lot of time on these and very happy with them. And luckily they won it exactly what I wanted. The prize was a Ring of Power. My little chain Alice has got there, so that's going in the display cabinet with the army. And yeah, I was buzzing for that. And the top prize for the event, I think, was an additional ticket for next year's one. So I managed to win that one, and that's going obviously to bring me there hopefully next year. I think the overall winner of the tournament did very well. I think he was undefeated, and I think it was a list. It was a Legendary Legion list of Uglug Scouts, I believe. So I've done well with that list before at 450 and 400 points. So I think it's going to be quite grim at 700 points, because you're probably looking at about 60 Urukai-ish that all move at 8. So that sounded like quite a grim matchup if I would have had to play that, because I would have probably got smashed with my Easterlings. So, but overall, I think most people that I talked to had a fantastic time. I think one chap that won the best painted did a fantastic army as well. He had a Hobbit army. I think it's up on YouTube with a Hobbit hole. It looks super cool, and some objective markers and things like that. So that was nice to see. And in true kind of best painting aspect, he managed to get the wooden spoon as well. So he didn't do so well in the games, but he obviously had a fantastically themed army and a great time, which is what it's all about, really. With the best painted and with the objective measures and the hostage, obviously I did do both, but because the list wasn't put up on Facebook, on the Facebook group, I didn't actually get it involved because I didn't know until it was too late. So as much as I spent my time trying to paint the army up nice and trying to compete with it, because of how it worked and because I wasn't aware that it was now on Facebook and not set up in between games and stuff like it's always been, I didn't actually get to have a go at that, but I can't complain because I still won the best overall theme, and I'm quite happy with that as a result. But hopefully it spurs some of you on to get yourself to your local events. There are links for the GBHL on Facebook. They also have a Wix page, which is all linked to that as well. And it has all the events listed for the UK and surrounding areas as well in Ireland. So if you are interested in getting yourself to local tournaments, creating a bit of a community around you, do make sure that you do check out and see if you can get to the local events, support your own local ones, and then some of the bigger, more established events as well. But I can easily say it's a great weekend away, and it's something that I personally enjoy quite highly. Next weekend, so as in this weekend coming up, I'm actually going over to Bristol, Bristol Independent Gaming Centre. I've never been before, but one of my good friends, Dewey Evans from Guardians of Wiltshire, is running a tournament. So again, keep your eyes out for future tournaments from there as well. So a bit different place of the UK. I'm going a little bit further south as opposed to going up north for most of the other tournaments. And that is a 550 point list, to which I'm taking a completely different army. I don't know what to expect, except again it should be a good laugh. But I'm not staying overnight because I don't know too many people going down there, so I think it's sensible to come back one evening and go back down again. But I can again give people a heads up on how that went and things if people are interested. But yeah, hope you like that, and again, like, share and subscribe on the YouTube, and I'll get some more battle reports and things up hopefully when I've got some time. Okay, all the best, bye bye.